The village was a brisk 20-minute walk from the castle, just far enough for the wind to sting my thighs and make me regret not choosing trousers. Leaves crunched beneath our boots as we crossed the vast stone bridge spanning the highlands. Sebastian, leading the way, looked like he was restraining himself from breaking into a jog. But he slowed, predictably, as we neared the edge of the forbidden forest.
I went in there once on a dare.
He declared, puffing out his chest.
No big deal, really. Wouldn't want to bump into a centaur, though. Right nuisances they are.
And you turned back after 10 steps.
And deadpanned.
Drogon didn't say how far I had to go.
Sebastian replied smugly. He glanced over his shoulder at me with a grin, eyes gleaming with mischief.
We're nearly there,
he added, nodding toward the curls of smoke rising above the treetops. Just ahead, the first houses came into view, crooked and clustered, their tilted chimneys and slanted roofs adding to the charm. Excitement bubbled up inside me as we approached the narrow bridge marking the town's entrance. Welcome to Hogsmeade. I tilted my head at the wooden sign, grinning as though expecting it to smile back. The village looked like it had fallen out of a storybook. The main street stretched before me, irregularly paved and a little askew, framed by thatched cottages. Most were decorated with pumpkins and quirky signs advertising all sorts of peculiarities. No two homes were alike, every brick standing on its own. Yet together, they formed a colourful, picturesque blur. Magic seemed to hum in every leaf and stone. Even the air was thick with it. Pruning shears trimmed hedges without hands. A stack of books floated gently outside a shop. Even a grindstone turned slowly on its own. Students swarmed the streets, most of them gathered in front of a store boasting a sign that read, "Honeydukes." The scent of chocolate and spun sugar filled the air. I was grateful when we stopped.
It's good to be back,
Ominous said quietly. He had barely spoken during the walk, but now he stood still, face tilted toward the sun, his expression peaceful. His hands rested lightly on his hips as he took in the warm scents around him.
You sound like an old man.
Anne teased, tugging on his sleeve.
Come on, before all the tables are taken.
It's 10 in the morning.
He protested mildly.
You're after butterbeer already?
Anne shrugged.
Everyone's crowding honeydukes and zonkos. If we wait until noon, the 3 broomsticks will be packed.
She's got a point, Grandpa Gaunt.
Sebastian chimed in cheerfully, stepping beside me. I lingered, watching them with quiet amusement. The way they fit together, banter, teasing and tenderness. Ominous let out a long-suffering sigh.
Oh, all right.
He muttered, his smile betraying him completely. And within seconds, he was the first to stride off toward the tavern, face brightening like he'd been aiming to go there all along. The 3 broomsticks stood as one of the largest buildings in Hogsmeade, located right at the heart of the village on a busy crossroad. Its crooked roof, shaped like a crown, towered over the neighbouring shops, and its facade was brimming with vibrant autumn decorations. As we entered, I was greeted by a comforting blend of wood, candles, and sweet drinks. It felt like stepping into a warm, cosy blanket. Despite its size, the ground floor had the air of a large, welcoming living room. Only a few tables were taken, mostly by somber-looking men who looked as though they hadn't moved since the night before.
Hogwarts students already. Welcome home, dears. Take a seat. I'll be with you in a minute.
Sirona Ryan, the owner, was tall, with dark hair tied back in a ponytail, revealing a face that seemed almost too young to be running the most prominent business in Hogsmeade. She wore a simple brown dress and apron, her strong, well-defined arms bare beneath rolled-up sleeves, evidence of years spent hauling barrels and trays. Ominous led us confidently to a table in the back, his steps sure and practiced, as though he knew every inch of the place by heart, wand or no wand. We were barely settled when Sirona reappeared with a tray of steaming mugs.
I figured as much,
she said with a soft smile, and we all nodded approvingly. Sebastian, ever the gentleman with a flair for theatrics, took charge of distributing the drinks, presenting each frothy mug with exaggerated elegance. He even rotated Ominous' cup, so the handle was perfectly positioned for him. A strong mix of caramel and butterscotch hit my nose, overwhelming my initial excitement.
To love and friendship. Cheers!
Sebastian declared, raising his mug with a handsome, solemn grin.
Cheers!
Cheers!
We echoed, our laughter cutting through the calm of the quiet Saturday morning. I took my first sip of butterbeer, and it was surprisingly awful. Oh, Merlin, it's like drinking sugar-soaked alcohol, I grimaced, instinctively turning to Sebastian as though this disaster was somehow his fault. He just chuckled.
Well, it pretty much is sugar-soaked alcohol. Heavy on the sugar, though, obviously.
He said, licking the foam off his upper lip.
Trust me, it gets better.
I stared miserably into my mug, watching the bubbles fizzle out, hoping the liquid beneath would follow them and disappear into nothingness. It was Ominous, of course, who convinced me to give it another chance, though he didn't have to say a word. Just the sight of him was enough. He was the only one holding his mug with both hands, elbows resting on the table, cradling it as though it were something precious. My gaze lingered, catching the soft flush on his cheeks, the warmth of the candlelight reflecting in his eyes. He looked completely at peace, his lips curving into a gentle smile with every sip he took. Unable to look away, I mirrored him, guiding the cup back to my mouth with both hands. Sebastian's gaze found me just as I took my second sip, and once again, my face contorted. "No!" I gasped, forcing the liquid down and setting the glass down with a clatter. "I'm sorry, but this is awful." Ominous's brow furrowed, just slightly, and I worried I'd been too blunt about my dislike for his favourite drink. I began, but Sebastian was already reaching across the table, smoothly sliding my mug next to his own half-finished one.
Poor girl. Allow me to relieve you of this burden.
And before I could object, he chugged my butterbeer in one go, thudding it down on the table with an ungraceful gasp.
Sebastian, that's disgusting.
Anne groaned, clutching her own cup protectively. He just smirked, smacking his lips. To my surprise, Ominous said nothing, his expression unreadable, as though his attention were elsewhere. I opted for a hot chocolate next, avoiding another butterbeer and earning a playful jab from Sebastian. Finally, I redirected the conversation and Ominous leaned in again.
You actually touched the Kneasel?
Sebastian asked incredulously, keen to hear what he'd missed in Beast Class.
Barehanded? No way!
I even stroked her fur.
Ominous replied proudly, placing his empty mug down with the quiet confidence of someone ready for another.
It was no trouble at all. She was actually quite adorable.
Anne shot me a knowing glance, suppressing her giggle as I took a sharp breath, preparing to expose Ominous with exaggerated outrage. A slight shift in his posture made me hesitate.
Well, Nina made sure the beast was calm before I touched it.
He added, a warm memory lightening up his face.
Thank you for that.
He kept his gaze straight, his ear angled to catch any response I might have had, though I found myself speechless, a rush of warmth flooding through me. He returned to his mug, unaware of the flush creeping up my neck.
Is that so?
Sebastian muttered, his voice yanking me back to the table. The edge in his tone was impossible to miss, and not surprising. I thought of Poppy, and the way he'd smiled at her, searching, digging for some reason behind the strange knot forming in my stomach. The feeling grew more uncomfortable with each passing thought, my mind nowhere near grasping the spectacle lurking in the shadows of Sebastian's eyes. Solely the pub's growing crowd hinted at the passage of time. Nearly every table on the ground floor was taken, Hogwarts students filling every seat. My gaze wandered, until it landed on Natty and Nellie, laughing over a magazine. Then their heads turned. I followed their gaze. Henrietta swept in with Norman at her side, her hand proudly laced with his. Both prefect badges gleamed on their uniforms like twin trophies, and they walked tall, like they wanted to be seen. The 3 broomsticks, I realized, was perfect for a date. Not that there were many other options at Hogwarts.
Oh, get a room.
Sebastian muttered, scowling as the couple disappeared upstairs, his voice so accusing it felt like Henrietta's happiness had personally offended him.
Oh, don't be like that,
Anne said.
I think it's sweet. And anyway, who are you to judge?
Whatever.
Sebastian replied, doing a pretty accurate impression of Imelda, though his eyes remained fixed on the stairs. His shift in mood unsettled me. I didn't know why.
They started dating over the summer.
Ominous mused, dabbing his mouth with a tissue, with a touch of ceremony, as though this information were his intellectual property.
They wanted to wait to go public until they'd settled into their prefect duties.
How are you always the first one to find out about these kind of things?
Anne giggled, dropping her face into her hands.
Well, I do spend most of my time listening.
Ominous replied, hiding a smile behind his final sip. I let my gaze linger just long enough to catch a slight flush on his cheeks, evidence of the faint trace of alcohol concealed beneath all that sugar. I was just about to suggest diving deeper into Hogwarts gossip when Anne let out a loud gasp.
That rat!
She hissed, her voice sharp but low, drowned out by the chatter. I turned, craning my neck to see what had caught her glare. Behind a nearby pillar, Nerida's face peeked out, half hidden by Gareth's unmistakable red curls.
She told me she was meeting her aunt in Hogsmeade.
Anne muttered, voice shaking.
Anne, what's wrong?
Sebastian asked, frowning. His eyes found the couple embracing and his face twisted in disgust.
Ugh, who in their right mind would make out with Weasley?
My gaze shot back to Anne, taking in the hurt and betrayal clouding her usually cheerful eyes. My heart ached.
Let's get out of here.
She said suddenly, sending her chair crashing to the floor as she rose abruptly.
It's nearly noon anyway.
Without another word, she headed for the door. I hesitated, feeling the rest of us pull along in her wake, reluctant to break the silence she left behind.